Hello everyone, and welcome to another story time with When Girls Talk Books. I'm Kylie.
I'm Susie.
And today we're doing More Than Life by Bethanie Finger. And this is a YA historical fantasy.
Yep.
So we'll start with star ratings.
I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
I was unaware this was a young adult until I was far too far into the book going like, go on, do something! Like, oh, okay, so that's fine. After my expectations were rerouted properly, I understood what was happening.
Fair.
I liked it. Yeah, 3 out of 5. When will I learn to do a little bit of research about what a book is before I open it? I just like thrive on going in blind and be like, the fuck is this?
That's fair. I kind of sort of knew what it was, but I went in blind for the most part. I did know it was YA. So, also to your credit, you went from reading smut, just straight smut, to a YA. So your brain
held my hand and pulled me in for a sweet kiss the next morning. Me.
Boring!
Boring!
I gave this 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this.
It was good. Yes. Especially, yes.
Yes. We'll give Susie credit where credit's due. Susie did finish this before me.
I read that physical book. Flipped each page. Yeah, read it.
I finished it this morning. So, I stalled, and I was in a reading slump, and then I had to read it in a day. But
That's
you
tough.
wouldn't think that, me trying to make my notes, but that's just how my brain works. But I give it 4 out of 5.
Okay.
We'll probably be downloading the next one, because now I need to know.
Yeah.
I know.
I know.
I need to know.
I kind of would appreciate it so that I could find out, because it was kind of hysterical when I'm like, cliffhangers really frustrate me,
Yeah.
not knowing what I was going in for. And when I tell you that when I flipped to that last page and I'm like, no, like, there's gotta be.
Yes. It does end on a cliffhanger, so just to be aware. This is a trilogy, so there's 3 of them.
Okay.
And I believe they're all released.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So, the author, Bethany, reached out to us a few times on Instagram. So we went ahead, we did buy our copies, but she did send us this cute little note, and then also some fan art, which is fun, a bookmark, and then also a signature page. I thought that was very nice. I don't know.
That was sweet too.
Thought I should mention it. So, I just wanted to mention that. Okay. Should we get into the story?
Yes, there's a lot to it. I'm like, yes.
I'm like, okay, crickets, we'll go home. It's fine. Okay. So, we start with Cordelia Kimball is her name.
Kimball. Lady Kimball.
Lady Kimball. Kimball. Until I read this.
Kimball.
It's so funny. The audiobook versus physical book reading. Lady Kimball. Kimball? Kimball. Anyway, so we jump right into our story. And Cordelia has been notified that her father has died. That's chapter 1.
Yeah.
She has a hard time with it.
And I felt really bad for you. When it was opening like this, I went, oh no, a young woman is being told that her father, her life is fucking over. Like, great. I felt real bad for her.
This is also like 1699. So it's in the 17th century, coming into the 17th century.
Would that be considered the Dark Ages? Like, I don't know, somewhere back when you had moats and castles and dowries and...
Yes, ladies are of certain standards. But now that her dad has died, she's no longer a lady. Mm-hmm. She's a miss. And she has a hard time with it because there's a lot of things that come
slumming it with us, huh?
Yeah, hey, we're misses now. Anyway, so her dad has died, and he was the captain of
Like the military
a
police.
ship army thing situation.
Right.
It's a fantasy, guys, okay? You know. I guess I should correct that. If that is a real thing, I'm just unaware.
Yeah, sorry.
I suck at history.
Yeah,
so.
we ain't trying to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
We're just dumb.
We're just dumb. I shouldn't. I'm a little dumb when it comes to history. Anywho, so he has died, and he
has perished.
Had a heart attack by himself in his boat. Which I'm also like, how did they find him? How did they know where he was? How did they know who?
Did he even have a heart attack?
Well, we see his dead body.
But I want more answers. I sit over here that he didn't actually die of a heart attack. Especially back in those days. You could have died of anything. They didn't know what it was.
I thought you were trying to insinuate that maybe he's still alive.
No,
I was
no.
We saw the body.
I think he was
Rule
unalive.
number 1.
I don't think that he...
That's fair.
Yeah.
I would... Okay.
Trust me. I've been sitting over here like the golden retriever meme all morning. Just like, cannot discuss.
Don't say anything.
Mm-hmm. Can't talk about the book, can't talk about my show. All I do is talk about my depresso, so I'm running out of things to talk about.
Okay. I'm not with the times with the show yet. And
That's fine.
Susie's having a hard time because I don't want spoilers.
That's fine. Everyone is entitled
I'm skipping
to
her
their own personal
Snapchat, so I don't
boundaries.
know what to tell you guys, okay? Don't want spoilers.
Lonely.
Anyway. Okay.
Okay. Cordelia's world is ending. Stop making it about yourself, you freaking narcissist. All right.
And your TV shows, okay? We have real life problems. Her sea captain dad has died. And she goes to the funeral. This is all a very mourning period. She's wearing maroon. I will say, I really liked how the author described things. I felt like it was well done without being too much because
I agree. You have a hard time. At me, I'm like, I promise, I didn't think it was annoying. It was fine. This is
because you have a hard time, like when it's a page and a half of describing things, like oh my gosh. But I do feel like it was very good at like describing like the salt on her lips without it being like we freaking get it. It's a sea town. Like move on. It was just enough
good job
to like make you feel the environment and what was going on. So I did want to point that out. So at the funeral. Obviously, it's a big event. They have it on the boat, which I thought was interesting. Spirits. And they present her with like a sand thing with his pin. It's like a whole...
Like equivalent to their flag kind of thing.
That's kind of how I took it, yeah. And she whispers to him like, I love you more than life itself, which is something that he told to her every single day. So it's all just... It's very sad.
Very sweet.
Funeral. Everyone's very nice to her, but she's also like, I don't care. Like, all these people lined up to tell her the same thing over and over and over.
And she didn't grow up with a mom or like a motherly figure, kind of like your standard family, so she's feeling real isolated.
Yeah. And her mother died in childbirth, is the story she's been told. And then we get a different point of view, and it is Jasper.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep, that's fine. Because I was reading it stupidly as Jasper. And I'm like, these freaking J names. Would it kill anyone to use any other letter in the alphabet?
Susie's like, I don't know, maybe an E?
For God's sake! I'm a little biased, but...
So Jasper is attending the funeral, and he has his cloak over him, and he's...
Invisibility quote.
He's Mr.
But I
really
want one. Like, it is pretty cool.
Yeah. So he has this cloak where people, like, see him, but they don't, like, take notice of him, I guess you could say. Like,
they can't remember you at all. Yeah.
Well, that's just him. The cloak is, like, they see him.
Well, that's just him. He's real fucking forgettable, okay? Nothing special.
The cloak, like, specifically makes it so he's not really noticeable. So if he's in a crowd, the way somebody described it is I could tell there was something there, but I didn't really pay attention to it.
So much better, because I was thinking full Harry Potter, like, put the cloak on and he's fucking gone. This whole book. That's what I thought.
No. But, so he has this cloak on, and you come to find out that essentially the captain was like his mentor, and he's also grieving him dying. It was really hard for him because he's only the person that's been around him because his parents also died like 12 years ago in a fire. So he came to grieve, but then also he has this mission for the captain's daughter, and he says in the coffin after everyone's left, because everyone has to leave before he can go say goodbye, because
again,
who
cryptic
knows?
Instructions.
Who knows? And he says, I'll keep her safe, I promise. And then back to his boat, because he also has a boat. Mm-hmm. So we find out that he has a talisman and a letter that he is to give to the captain's daughter. So he has to race from the funeral to her house, or the captain's house, I guess you could say, to get there before her to deliver it and say, this is for Lady Kimball. Can you please give it to her? And then
so weird.
Run out. This, for a while, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, like a lot.
What are we doing here?
A lot of side quests.
Yeah, this is all a side quest, really.
A little heavy,
if you think about it.
And riddles,
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, which I do like a good side quest, I'm not gonna lie, but for a while I don't know what was happening, so I was a little confused. But, and he keeps the talisman.
Yep.
Yes.
You had it.
And he'll know when Lady Kimball opens the letter, because the talisman
heat
will,
up or some shit.
Yeah, become really hot. So he is, then we find out that him and the captain were on a mission to find an island. That's really all we know. But he really wants to get this task that he's been given by the captain to, like, give the letter to his daughter. If she chooses to take it, then X, Y, and Z. He kind of just wants to get it out of the way because he wants to get back to his life, is the way he describes it. So Cordelia gets back to the house, and the vessel is there, who is somebody of the church, essentially. Church. Yeah, it was a church. I looked it up. And he says, you gotta go. Yeah. This is no longer your house. Like, the captain is dead.
Of your title. You don't live in this. Like, all of this was provided basically by the crown, and so you're your government job is over, so you're out.
Just kicks her to the curb, like, immediately. And
no
she's
notice.
Like,
can't even spend the night. Like,
it's the night. It's the day of the funeral. Like, she's coming back to the house, and he's there, and he's like, "Oh, good. I need you to
time to pack up." And he wasn't even gonna let her ride in the carriage either.
No,
he was gonna make this little girl. I mean, she's a grown woman, but he's gonna make her walk alone down this country road at night. I was very sad.
It was very sad. And she has two people in the house, Mary and Taylor, who have been there forever. And they also think it's very unjust. But Mary does help her pack her belongings. And the letter kind of gets forgotten about because she gets it when she gets there, she gets it, and she's like, I'll read it later.
And then this turd mongrel here, kind of interrupted everything. Yeah.
And she's like, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Like, she has nothing. She can't even get her inheritance because she's not a married woman. So she has no money. No money, no prospects.
I am a burden to my family.
That I don't have.
Yep. Feel you, girl.
You're married.
It's true.
Okay. And Susie might be more tired than I am.
The tears are coming.
So Taylor tells her to go to the Anchorage Inn, and there's somebody there who can help her. So she packs her bag. She accidentally drops a vase full of seashells, and she goes into hysterics over that because her dad would pick seashells from every beach that he went to and bring it back to her. It's all very sweet. Mm-hmm. But she drops it and they all break. And then she's trying to pick them up, and so she's got glass all on her hands. It's a whole mess.
It's just too much. Too much for one person for one day.
Yeah. So then she comes downstairs and she's like, Taylor, can you get the carriage ready so I can go? And the vassal guy is like, you can't take, that's property of the estate. You can't take a carriage off of here. And Taylor is kind of like, yes, you can. Like,
Like, the fuck?
I'm a man!
Sir.
And he's like, fine, I suppose.
But you have to sit on the outside.
But you can't sit inside. You gotta sit up where the driver is. Because you're no longer a lady. But also, she's like, you want me to leave without an escort? And he's like, it doesn't matter anymore because you're not a lady. This is like a whole theme throughout the book of her, her kind of fall from grace in a way.
Yes.
But, so she gets to the Anchorage Inn, and Gladys, that's how I pronounce it, Gladys? Yeah. Gladys is the owner, and she says you can stay for, I think it was like 3 days, 2 or 3 days. It's been paid for. After that, you know, this is the price. You'll have food, a bed, so on and so forth. Very nice. And she cries herself to sleep.
As would I.
Well, like, her whole world is just gone now. Like,
and to go from, like, she was getting someone was dressing her, feeding her. Like, she didn't even brush her own hair. Mm-hmm. And now she's she this poor thing.
Also talks about, like, the friends that she had and the men who wanted to court her and all this stuff. Like, she had all of this popularity, but now they're, like, throwing her out on the street. Well, no like about it. They're throwing her out on the street and, like, well, you're no longer worthy because your dad died. So, kick rocks, kid.
Horrible.
So bad. And anyway, so Gladys is like, well, the next day, teared out. She can't even put her corset. She has the hardest time putting her corset on, which, different times. If you don't have to wear it anymore, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You can.
Yep.
Ugh, a corset? Anyway, but.
I've worn one twice, and both times went like, amazing, but was this worth it?
I wore one.
And I tried to eat and thought I was going to throw up.
Literally. I think my prom dress was like a corset back. Hated that thing. My back was killing me by the night. By the time the night was done, I hated it. Anyway, so she's like, next day, Gladys is like, have you thought about what it is that you're going to do? And she's like, right, work. I think she had like 1 silver and 2 coppers in her purse. Don't know whatever that equates to.
Probably like, $114 in your checking. I understand. And then, where do you want to work? Like, what skills do I have that would be to, and she's kind of telling Gladys, like, well, I, took a week of embroidery, and, I can play the flute, and I know 17 waltzes, and Gladys is like,
and, what was the other one? I can read and write. That was one of her things.
That's how I feel on Indeed right now, being like, I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I've done a lot of merchandising. I'm real strong.
Please, I'm real strong.
Yes, I know how to use Microsoft Teams.
Unfortunately. You have 1 more Teams invite.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Gladys is like, well, I've set up 3 interviews for you today. And she's like, oh, okay.
It's nice. So cute that, like, all these people just mysteriously are so helpful to this girl, and she doesn't know them, and she doesn't think anything of it. She just thinks, like, wow, everyone is just so kind, and I'm like...
But, like, if that's all you've ever known, is people, like, helping her.
That's true.
She
just thinks that's the way it should be.
Makes sense. People should just be nice. Crazy concept. So, she has these interviews, and Gladys is like, come with me, we'll get you dressed, and she, helps her. She pins the end of the dress so that way it's, suitable for her height. And she draws her a map. Okay. I thought about this when I was reading this. Drawing someone a map of town. Can you imagine if I drew you a map of town and said, okay, you're going to go here, here, and here? It would be like the most crayon drawn thing. I just kept thinking, like, this is probably a really, like, well drawn map of where to go. I'd be like, left, right, you go here.
And also, like, to think, Gladys did that, and Gladys is familiar with the area.
Yeah.
Versus, it'd be like me handing you a map of Ridgefield and being like, have a blast! And you'd be like,
pardon?
sis, already? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do much better.
I thought it was interesting, though, because that kind of gets brought up a little bit. A few times about drawing them a map on where to go. Or, like, yeah, you're going to go here and then that way for 10 miles. You'll know when you get there.
Like, will I?
10 miles? By that time, I'm going to be over here because I can't keep straight, and I'm already off. 10 miles? Straight? One way? That's going to take you some time.
I feel that.
We're really sounding educated in this episode. I don't know history. I don't know where north is. Give me a map and I'm going to be like, are you joking? I don't know what you're talking about. Is it going to move as I move or?
Yeah, where's the blue dot? I can't recenter.
Okay.
Why won't it reroute me?
Oh, I'm the biggest rerouter. If I don't like the look of something, it'll reroute me.
Like, too many lanes, not doing it.
I'll keep going. I don't care. It'll add 20 minutes.
So be it.
I wasn't about to get into that mess. Drives Justin crazy. Okay.
Then she has to go to all these interviews. As a person that has always been on the higher side of life.
Yes.
Like, she's never had to ask for anything
Yes.
or she's never been rejected before.
And prove herself. Mm-hmm. To, like, prove that she has skills is something that's very not, she's never had to do. So the first job interview is to be essentially like a trainer for ladies. Because she has this training of getting trained. And she knocks on the front door and the person answers is like, what do you want? And she's like, I'm here for a job interview. And he's like, you need to go to the staff door.
Yeah, what the hell are you doing on my front porch?
Yeah. And she's like, okay. So she goes there and they are essentially like, you don't have any proper training? You don't have anything? No, sorry.
You don't have a bachelor's degree? You want more than $14 an hour and you're seeking full-time employment? Get wrecked. Yeah, I understand.
Basically. And she's like, they didn't even let me in the house.
Yeah, I understand. They don't even send you a rejection letter anymore.
And then the second one was for writing, and the guy
was an ass.
Oh
about
my
it.
gosh!
All right, yeah, okay. I'd like to see all the mistakes you made, bro.
Yeah, he's essentially like, here's a page. I want you to copy it, or here's a book. Copy as many pages as you can. No mistakes. And here's
and
your timer.
Time you. And then he's like, time's up. Oh, what do you mean you messed up? Oh, you silly little woman. I just wanted to.
Yeah, it was interesting. They definitely weren't giving her a break at all, which
no,
you know,
nobody does. But just
dog eat dog world.
It's supposed to be a book and it be a little unrealistic.
She like started and like in her point of view, she's really trying and she's like, duh, like she feels like she's going so fast. And then he's like, you wrote half a page and I see 3 mistakes from here. You should have written at least 2.5 pages. And she's like, maybe I could try again. And he's like, no, get out. So she's having a rough day. The last job interview
is Gladys's like sister.
Gladys's sister. And she's a seamstress, and she's like, yes, I know, I think it was embroidery. Mm-hmm. I know how to do that. And she's like, okay, do you have any experience like with patterns, with scissor work, anything like that? And she's like, no. And she's like, well, how old are you? She's 19. She's going to be 20. She's like, you're too old to be an apprentice, so there's nothing I can do with you. Good luck, kid.
And like Cordelia doesn't know how to lie to save her life. Like sometimes you gotta embellish the truth. You gotta sell yourself a little. You got, just within reason. And she's like as honest as air. Is just like, nope, sure don't. Can't do that. Nope, I've never even tried. You're like,
me, I can do anything. And
are you fluent in Hebrew? Sure am.
I can get on the whatever website real quick and start taking it.
Rosetta Stone.
Is it Rosetta Stone? No, what are you taking?
Duolingo.
Duolingo is
Thank you. Okay.
Rosetta Stone's from like the 90s.
That's perfect. I almost said MapQuest earlier.
Susie, you're not even 30, girl.
And my dial-up internet.
Okay, so she leaves. She goes back. She's very down on herself because she feels rejected. Oh, Gladys told her essentially to lie during these interviews. Embellish.
Did she listen?
Proper way to put it.
No.
She did not. Well, they didn't even give her the chance to, in all fairness. Now, I will say, normally, a character like this would really piss me off. Mm-hmm. I really liked her. I really liked Cordelia. I thought that she was like, she was kind of thrown into this, and she really just kind of made the best of what she had, and she was very determined, and like, for the most part, always had like a positive attitude. Like, she obviously got down and things like that, but I don't know. I really liked her.
I did too. I thought she was sweet.
Yeah, she's very sweet, but very like determined, you know, which I thought was good. Side note. So she goes back to Gladys's inn, bar, whatever you want to call it, and essentially she is like, it went horrible, everything sucks, and Gladys is like, well, I could use a pair of extra hands here. She's like, really? She's like,
And Gladys is
sure.
like, God, yeah.
Sure, kid.
I'm making way too much money here. I could really use a liability, so.
And so Cordelia moves into the workers' quarters. So it's her, Gladys, and a name that I'm going
Couldn't
to
say
butcher.
either. Let me try to. Darmid? Yeah, that sounds good enough.
Oh, it's Irish.
Oh.
Pronunciation. Darmead. Dearmead. 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 What?
It doesn't sound like a real word.
We are looking at...
No! This is gonna get worse. I'm gonna cry even harder. No!
I'm just together for a second.
Say more interesting and often unclear names from Ireland, so make sure to stay tuned.
He's
and
Irish.
consider subscribing for more.
Don't you know?
How do you say it? Dearmid.
Dearmid. Dearmid. That's how you pronounce it. There were a lot of names in here where I was like, this would have been actually kind of nice to have the audiobook. Don't know how to pronounce that. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those three.
We'll come back down. All right.
Those three live there. So their full-time employment is kind of how it seems. And Cordelia has chosen to have a new name to fit this new life that she has.
It's very original and very different than her actual name.
Yes. Her name is Cordelia.
And she's now gonna go by Delia.
Delia. I kept calling her Delia.
Oh, okay. But I just kept thinking of the kids' books, the Amelia Bedelia, this entire book. Like, I could not get it out of my head.
And she is god-awful at this job. She is so bad. The poor thing.
She is me when I tried to be a waitress for 45 seconds, and no, not Susie's strong suit.
I always wanted to be a bartender.
I was a bar back for 24 hours and cried a lot.
I think I'd be good at it.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I agree that I think you'd do really well with it.
I think I'd do good.
And I say that, I'm like, oh, but I love being a barista, but that's different. That's totally not even the same vibe, but...
Yeah.
So she's, new girl on the job. That's hard.
And
when
she's
you're the new
awful.
Kid, and you're terrible at it.
She drops things. She spilled soup and it got all over in her hair. She has to clean the chamber pots. Poor thing.
Yes.
She just has a really hard time. She cannot pour a beer to save her life. It is just all foam. And, they're really just trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like, if she was anyone else, she'd have been asked to leave. But, they're all hanging in there for her. And back to it's her attitude, really.
Yes.
Is what saves it.
Yeah, she's very much like, okay, all right, what are we going to do now? Like, she's
very humble
really
for someone who doesn't need to be. Like, she wasn't raised... Well, she was raised to be humble, but most people in her bracket were just... horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But she has a job now, and she has a place to live, and she's she's really trying. I also picture her very small. Like, she's a small little thing. Because they have to, like, bring down chairs in the morning. And she has a hard time with that. And it, like, bruised her hip. And it's a whole thing. And she can barely do it. So then Dearman has to come and help them up.
As soon as you get it together.
But, so now we're back to Jasper. Jasper is getting impatient because he wants to get back to his life.
He wants to get back to his nothingness.
Yeah, well, he's on a mission. We just don't know what it is.
True.
And the talisman has not glown red or whatever, been hot. So that means that she has not opened the letter that he had left at the house for her. And he's essentially like, okay, what are we going to do here? Like, maybe I can encourage her. If I can find her, I can encourage her to open it so that way we can move on. Because in the letters that he got, it's essentially like she will decide what she wants to do, and you're not to guide her in any way. Either she wants to, follow the path of adventure, or she wants to stay where she's at, and that's her choice, so you can't influence it in any way. You're just supposed to kind of be there for when she does open it, if she decides to take the path of adventure. Then you're there to answer her questions and anything like that she may need. And so he thinks, what is the best way that I can convince her to read it? Well, I have to find her. So he decides that he's going to be out on a mission to find Lady Cordelia, which, this freaking guy, stupid. But, so where is he going to go? Well, he first pretends to be a fisherman. That's step one, because he has a boat. Well, also the guys just kind of assume that he's a fisherman, and he's like, what a great cover. So the thing about this is he is not used to people noticing in him nor remembering him. But because he has the talisman, people will remember him, which we kind of find out later, but just for context, that's how that goes. And so he meets, I'm just going to call them the brothers.
Yep.
There's 3 brothers.
That's perfect.
Kevin is the main one. There's 2 other ones. Their names were kind of hard. I couldn't remember. And he meets them, and they go to the bar for a beer. Because he's like, come on. Friendly guys.
Yeah, the 3 brothers were very much like the... What are the characters? Never mind. Well, when ADHD remembers, we'll come back to this thought, so... But yes, they're 3 golden retrievers that were just like, you're a part of us now, come on.
Yeah. So they all go to the bar, and this is where he first meets Delia. I'm going to call her Delia at some point, just an FYI. But,
yep, that's acceptable.
That's where he meets her for the first time, kind of unofficially. There's this guy that's harassing her, and all the guys are like, you want us to take care of it, Gladys? And she's like, relax. And then the brothers escort the man out. So, anyway. And during this conversation, he finds out that one of the brothers, at one point, was trying to look for the lost island.
Yes.
Here's our mission.
They're Atlantis.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying Atlantis is not real. Don't. Nobody come for me, okay?
I'll be the first. But, so, this is pronounced Quilaris, is how I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's like, oh, did you really find it? To the brother, and he's like, no, I was like 10. Like, no, I didn't find it. But on this island, there's essentially like a elixir of immortality. And so it's like a lost legend of people trying to find it. So that is what the captain and Jazz, because he's going by Jazz now instead of Jasper, we're going to find. And, sorry, my leg hurts. Jazz ends up staying at Gladys. He said, you have an extra room that I could have? And she said, yep. And so the next day, he officially meets Delia, and they like each other, but he's kind of weird about touch and people and things like that. So they're having a conversation, and something gets brought up in that conversation that makes him think of the captain, and so he like leaves because he's very sad boy about it. And Delia follows him. She ends up consoling him in the same way that Gladys consoled her when she got there, of like, you know, for
it's
a
gonna
while.
Be the first thing you think of when you wake up, and
the last thing you think of at night, but at some point it'll maybe be the second thing that you think of when you wake up. And so she tells him the same thing, and she like puts her hand on his back, and she's like, sorry,
too much. Okay.
He flinches, yeah, and he's like, no, it's fine. And she's like, no, it's okay, it's all right.
I could feel the awkwardness, like it was palpable. I'm like, oh god,
we're never speaking again. And so later, Dearmond, kind of tells her, she asks like how long he's been there, and he said,
184 years.
It was a joke. He goes into the Hagens lore. This is fantasy, so, you know, hey, bear with me here.
There's stuff like Telerian seas and
Yeah.
I kept waiting for Westeros to come up, and I'm like, wrong thing.
So the Hagens, years ago,
Not just hags. Hagens, okay?
not just hags. They burnt the forest
They're
down.
pyros, yeah.
But they're magical. They're magical pyros. They burnt down. It was a forest, right?
Yep.
A magical
And like
forest.
cities and towns, and
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
So now they're like excommunicated and they're in hiding because their kind is not accepted in society. And he also tells her, that was really nice what you did for him. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you comforting him, that was very nice of you. So then they kind of start to have this friendship. And I think for him, it's more of like realizing that she's a kind person.
Mm-hmm.
She's not the lady that everybody thinks that she is. Like, she has a heart, and she's trying, and she's working really hard to get better at the job and things like that. So that's where they start to have a relationship. Now, we spend so much freaking time at this tavern.
I feared it was the whole
Oh my
story.
gosh, I'm sorry. This probably would have been a 5-star if we didn't spend so much time at the tavern.
If the book is this big, and if we didn't spend this much of it in the inn, not even just about the inn, like in it, around it, I understand now, like, needed to fill space to make room. Like, I get it now.
We need to build the character development between Delia and Jazz. And I think that's really what, and then also like the found family aspect.
And if this was a movie or a book, this part would go fast. So I get it, and like it's a lot harder to physically write. Anyway, so yeah, we're on your side, not trying to rip you to shreds here, but
it was a lot.
Can we? Yeah,
it was like 60% of the way.
It was starting to get boring.
As we said, we spend a lot of time at the inn, and a lot of it is relationship building between Delia and Jazz.
Yep. And her, learning how to make bread and learning how to mop the floors. She gets
better at her job, and yes, a lot of that. I wrote step by step, but I don't think I'm going to talk about it all.
We'd be here a while.
It's most of the book. So, one thing to note is Kevin, one of the brothers, is sweet on Delia. Mm-hmm. And Jazz doesn't like how he talks about it as if she's property. Like, well, she's good as any. Like, why wouldn't I? And he doesn't like that. So you're like, ooh, they like me. Another thing that's talked about in the pub that he catches on to is there's attacks in the sea. So they think they're either pirates or they're Sidons. We don't know what that is at that point. But
for a second, I heard there's a tax on the sea. And I'm like, they're taxing the ocean? Like, what?
Maybe. Anywho, there's also very rude customers, impatient bar customers that I just forgot her name. Gladys puts in their place, and then she asks Jazz to walk her back to her room. And he's like, hey, can I walk with you? I'm scared of the dark. And she's like, no, you're not. He's like, yeah, no, really, I am.
I'm just terrified.
Yeah, I'm so scared. He's kind of funny. And during that, she had, like, her hair gets caught in a button, and he cuts it, and his hand brushes her skin. She goes,
yeah. When I got to there, I went, oh, like, finally.
I knew immediately when I read it, that's what you were talking about. Yeah. And then he tells her, she's like hysterical because she's like, I can't do anything right. Like, she's just having a really hard time, and he's like, you need to go back in there and prove to them that you can. Like, he really talks her up, and I love that. We also have the oysters incident, where she has buckets of oysters that she needs to shuck, and they tell her to grab the knife out of the kitchen to do it, but she was too afraid to ask whatever the name was.
So me.
That she didn't, and she just was prying them open with her hands.
Yeah.
And Jazz sees her and is like, you pried 3 buckets full of oysters open with your hands, and they're just mangled. She's like, yeah. And he takes her to the sea, and he touches her hands.
He's holding her hands and taking care of her. And yes, I ate that shit up because finally that was the closest thing I had to romance in this book.
Give me something. And he wraps her hand in the seawater so that way she doesn't get infections. And then
There's a spark when they touch.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention that. That's an important
In a few
thing.
instances when they would touch, like, she thought he was flinching because, you know, ew, David. But actually it's because there was a literal spark between the two of them. And just take that.
But also he's not used to being touched.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons unknown. And then she's like, did I ruin dinner? Because she's like crying now because she's all bloody. She didn't do it the way she was supposed to. And he's like, he'll wash him before dinner. Sick. First of all, gross. At the time, whatever, I suppose. But you didn't ruin dinner. And she's like, okay. And then she goes back and they were like, what are you doing? Why didn't you use the knife we told you to? And she's like, I didn't want to ask where it was or what it was.
I know how that feels when you feel like, also when you're a new person, you're always hard on yourself. So it's like, you know, you just had to explain everything to me and even tell me where the towels are. I'm not about to come after you one more thing.
Literally.
You're just going to think I'm fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
and then she's like, well, why don't you take the night off, rest your hands, you know, da-da-da. And she's like, no, let me go change and I'll be back. And they were like, like, she's really trying. And we have a bunch of small moments. Jazz goes to the basement to help her with the keg, and he's like, it's really heavy. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, no, I promise, it's really heavy. Like, trying to make her feel better about it. He ends up becoming kind of like an unofficial employee of the bar because he's there all the time. And
of course, she's just blissfully unaware.
Yes. But she's getting better at her job, and Jazz, like, helps him close up every night. They eat dinner all together every night. I think he does
family dinner.
Yeah, half off his room. And then she starts stepping ahead here, but she goes like, are you going to be home for dinner? And he's like, I'll
always be home for you. And I'm like,
he called her his home.
Dear diary.
This is sometimes why I like YAs better, because it's like the tension of like you're just waiting for something to break.
I remember I sounded kind of like this with Powerless, where I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah. But you don't get that feeling with Smut because they just give it to you.
And saying that like it's a bad thing.
I don't know. I think sometimes with YA, just like little stuff matters more. Like him saying I'll always be home for dinner is like such a big thing. But like if you read that in a different book, you'd be like, yeah, okay, well duh. Where else are you gonna be? You know, it's silly. Anyway, so at some point, Dearmond, sorry.
Who we all know I can't say it, so no one make fun of her, okay? At least she can actually read it.
He says something about, how come he never catches any fish? And Gladys is like, are you blind?
Yeah.
He's like, what? It's just like,
He ain't no fucking
Really?
fisherman.
Well, she's like, what do you think he's here for? It's no fish. It's not about the fish anymore. It's obviously about Delia.
I feel like you and I have to do that for our husbands all the time. They'll be like, well, that's just weird. That person said they were going to do this and they never did. And we're like, yeah, it's called lying. And we're like, someone would lie right to my face? And you're like, yes. Yes.
The world's a cruel place.
Yeah, they're just like, oh.
So, there are, at some point, Jazz, like, starts to be like, okay, he has these moments of, okay, I need to find the captain's daughter. It's like, okay, well, what have you been doing for 3 weeks
Good
here?
job, Sherlock.
He's the worst Sherlock. Because he doesn't know that Delia is the captain's daughter. How?
There's no...
At this point.
Oh, yeah. Duh, Susie. Actually, check yourself, yeah.
She's not in the directory. And so he has this talisman, and he's like, I'm going to find the person who made this, because I think this thing is broken. Because she's not in town, I haven't heard anything about her, and the thing hasn't become hot, so that means she hasn't opened it. So either she actually hasn't opened it, which seems unlikely, because it's been like a month, or this thing's broken. So he takes it to the person, and we find out that Jazz is a Hagen, which is wrong. And he's like, you shouldn't be here. And he's like, okay, chill out. Oh, he's got his cloak of invisibility. And essentially, the guy tells him there's nothing wrong with it. It works just fine. She hasn't opened it. And he's like, well, how do I find her? And he's like, I'm not telling you squat. Which this happens twice. Where they're like, I'm not telling you anything. You can't influence her in any way on what she wants to do. Like, nope, not happening. And during this visit, he gets sick. And he's like very like gonna pass out, but he wants to complete this thing. And he makes it home, and he is out for the count. And she brings him food.
Because she's so worried about him.
She does get very worried about him. And she ends up sleeping in his room that night. I know! It's crazy. We went from, like, not having an escort for a carriage ride to she's sleeping on the floor in his room. Well, not even on the floor. She slept in his bed.
Which then, later in the book, made no goddamn sense.
Why?
Because later in the book, when he chooses to sleep on the floor,
Oh.
and it's like, I get it, but
there was
like,
a reason.
this was my, I finally had the hands brush, and then there's only one room left, and there's only one bed. Like, it was all in the stuff that I love, and then each time it was like, no, you don't get that. I'm like,
okay.
I'm already on a celery and water diet. Like, it's not even gonna give me
something. And so she takes care of him, and she's like, do you want me to leave? And he's like, there's nowhere else I'd rather have you be. And it's just cheeky. And then we have a moment where Delia hits her head on the stool while trying to take it down, and he catches her, and it's like,
he's right there.
Stay with me. And then she's like, oh, and he's like, that's my girl. And I'm all,
and the whole time, if her and I whacked ourselves in the head and our husbands tried to comfort us, we'd be like, get the fuck away from me, leave me alone.
Give me a towel. How about that? Yeah. And then one day they go and look for a new dress. And so she gets a new dress, and she's been wearing maroon as her grieving period.
Her mourning colors.
Yes. And then he's like, for the morning. He's like, get the blue one. So she gets the blue one. And then the seamstress says something to her.
The seamstress is kind, and she has a whole guy's crash out over it.
Well, she says, my lady. And she goes, I'm not a lady. And she's like, well, aren't you? And she's like, thank you. So I think she was going to say, aren't you Lady Cordelia?
I was waiting. There was multiple times in this book where I'm like, finally, he's going to learn that what he's looking for is right fucking there.
Yeah, then it doesn't happen. And so she leaves, and she has this whole meltdown when she gets back. And Gladys is like, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. The lady said my lady, and she freaked out. And then she's like, oh. And he's like, does anybody want to tell me what's happening here?
Yeah, no one would just explain anything to him, and that kind of makes me mad.
And it's like this close so many times, and then it just doesn't happen. And so when Delia is talking to Gladys, she is essentially like embarrassed. She doesn't want to tell him about it. She's never actually said it out loud what happened. And she thinks that he like won't like her because she's no longer a lady. Mm-hmm. And then Gladys is like, you think far too little of a man like that then, because he would never.
Mm-hmm. And also we learned so much about Gladys, and I was like...
Then they have a moment where she essentially is just like, I lost somebody that was really close to me, and so I'm grieving it. But she still doesn't freaking tell him anything. And
she can say so much and so little all at once.
And then they have a moment where they get close together.
You know,
and he
their
says...
faces almost touch.
She could feel the warmth of his breath.
Yeah.
And he says, like, he thinks that his new favorite color is blue.
Like her eyes.
No, like her dress.
And her eyes were blue,
and her eyes, too, yeah. But it's her new dress. And then somebody comes out of the bar, and it's loud. So step back from each other.
Yep. Moment ruined.
Annoying. And then we see that Jazz is kind of thinking of staying with Delia and not pursuing his inheritance, is how he puts it, of seeking the island. And he's definitely like, well, I still need to find the captain's daughter, but maybe I do want to stay here. Like, maybe I want to have this life with her and stuff like that. And then Taylor comes to check on Delia. Very simple. How's she doing? She's doing better. But we find out the lore with Taylor and Gladys. Do you want to take that away?
It just made me really sad. Like, so Gladys, her parents passed away when she was young, like around Delia's age. And her and Taylor were in love, and Taylor joined the army, and it basically turned into like Gladys chose to stay and run the family business. Taylor went to follow his dream in the military, and then she waited for him, and he never
came back.
That, I wanted to drown him in the Tillarian Sea or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, God, Taylor.
You're missing a crucial point. She turned down a proposal before he left.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So, yeah, then he never came back. You said
he
no.
Never came back, yeah.
It's sad.
Yes, it is sad. But she's waited, it's been like 30 years. And she's never
84
loved...
years. Yeah, she never loved anyone else.
And she just she really regrets it. And it's like one of those things where she's like, that's the biggest regret that I have. And what if I would have said yes? And could things have been different? And so on and so forth. That, it was sad.
I guess I have less self-respect than Gladys. I'm the type that, like, 15 years ago, I'd have been like, hey, so I know that, like, but, I mean, you're still here. You never moved away. We're done. We ain't getting any younger. Like...
Chop, chop, man.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's where her and I are different, and that's fine. Well, it doesn't make sense for the book. I get it.
Anywho, and then at some point, it kind of comes to light, I guess you could say, that Delia never smiles. She doesn't smile. She doesn't really laugh, joke around. Like, she's very stoic. And Jazz says, I'm going to make it my mission to make you smile.
Which then would make me work even fucking harder to frown forever. But that's not the point. That's not the point of the book. This is cutesy, and we love it.
You know what? You say that. You're such a lover girl. She's such a liar. And then there's a storm. This is where the tide starts turning here.
Stop it.
There's the weather guy, wizard, who says there's a really big storm. Like,
the weather
wizard, yeah. He has a name. Can't pronounce it, but he's got a name. And he says there's a storm, like, boys, don't even bother going out. It's going to be really bad.
Winds in the east.
Yeah.
A mist is coming.
And Jazz decides that he has to go out.
No, we're not going off on a tangent.
He has to find the daughter, the captain's daughter. So that way he can, again, move on with his life, but now it's different.
Be better at your job, broski.
Now it's different. It's not so much moving on with his life with the finding of Island. It's now moving on with his life with Delia.
You did it. You finally did it.
And
that was a long time.
she's very worried about him. So the bar is packed because all the guys are in. They're not out fishing. And
fishing and loving every day.
everybody is like, man, I hope he comes back. And
I tried to warn him. Like,
we're so bad today. And and then somebody says, yeah, I hope he does for her sake because she's worried sick. And then he comes in the door.
lo and behold.
Oh, something happens. He went for something to find the daughter.
He went to go talk to yet another one of them guardians.
Yeah.
Because he, I guess, thinks that someone's
The
going to
elixir.
talk. Yeah, he goes to the random lady who's been doing all the teas and such to keep her healthy.
Yeah, Gladys gives her a tea every day. And that's her, like, potion of health. In a way.
It's probably like turmeric and vitamin C, but yeah.
And ginger.
Yep.
Yeah. And black pepper, because you gotta have that to activate the turmeric. Anyway, so then he's like, I gotta get back, and then, oh no, a storm is happening, and his ship almost
And his ship
goes
falls
down.
apart and rips to
Yeah.
shreds and...
But he makes it.
Yep.
And then they are in the busy bar, and then they see each other across the room, and she's all trying to be coy, and he's like, no, no, no. And so he runs, and then
public display of affection.
they hug. And everyone's all, ooh? Because that's kind of a no-no. Not a no-no. Not the social norm. Like, even if you're married, really, you don't really show affection like that. And, she's like, oh, I'm so glad you're home. And he said, I'll always come home to you. And that's like a big thing.
Especially
apparently.
in that town. In their town, if you call someone home, you basically proposed.
Basically. Because Gladys is like, you only say that once in your life. I imagine her with a little bit of an accent.
And it says, he returns to the village, calls her his home. And to this village, that means we're getting married. Me, yay, yay, yay! Finally, something happened!
And then, he's leaving to go somewhere. I don't remember. Another mission to find the captain's daughter. And, she's like, oh, it's my birthday tomorrow. Like, you're not going to be here then. And he's like, oh, well, we'll celebrate, when we're back. And then they have another moment and they almost kiss, and he's like, I have to tell you something, and you need to know everything before this goes any further.
And he's nervously pacing.
He's pacing around. And he's like, I have this inheritance thing and I can't really turn it down, and you need to know what I am. And then
Mary comes in.
Mary comes in. So Mary is the one who helped her pack, and while she was cleaning up the room for the new captain's guest room, because his son was moving out, she found the scroll. And so
We just found a letter. We just found a letter.
both of you.
Wonder who it's from.
Dead dad. And
Not on the bingo card.
and she brings it, and then they're like sitting, and she's like, oh my gosh. And then Jazz comes in, he's like sitting right next to her, and then he basically has like a heart attack because he recognizes the scroll
Oh, the
letter,
little pieces going click, 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 click.
and she's the captain's daughter, and it
I'm
says
so daft.
Lady Cordelia, and he's all,
Jesus Christ. Cordelia is Delia. What tarnation?
who would have thought? And
My flappers be gasted.
he says, well, time to head
I'm
out.
head out. Yeah, actually, he says, like, I need to go. And just, like...
And she's like, what? She's crying hysterically, and she's like, I need you to
Such
stay.
a dick move on his part.
And he's like, I have to go. But, like, I kind of get it. I get where he's coming from, because the instructions were very clear that he's not to guide her in any way on what to do.
Those instructions were clear, yet all he was doing was try to go against the instructions and follow her around and figure out who she is
now he knows
so that he could tell her.
Well, then, but that he could. He could just guide her to open it.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's different.
Okay.
Because they're together. So who do you think she was gonna ask to go to Woodvale with? Him. How is he gonna hide the new scroll if he already has it?
True.
It was in place. This guy's death wish. You gotta, Anyway. So he says, I gotta go. And on his way out, he tells Dermond that she needs him.
Yep. And he's like, huh? Me? Like, he's working on his puzzle, this cranky old man, doing his thing. He's like me, ready to hang, like, done for the night.
For the day.
Yep. And then someone, they need you. And you're like, it's not that I don't want to go be there for them. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like,
please, I'm already in my puzzle clothes.
Yep.
And then he rips off his talisman. He cleans the room, spotless.
Leaves no trace. This is that
trace.
shit we were talking about when they have to fake betray the girl, like whatever, to protect them. And we know that it's all for a good cause, but
man, does it piss you off. Yeah. And he leaves. And so then in the letter we find out it essentially tells her,
hear ye, nothing, clue, riddle. Yeah, that's what we discovered.
It tells her to go to Woodvale and to find Marlowe. Who's that? We don't know. But it says, find Marlowe, he'll explain everything.
Right.
Got it. And then she goes to bed. She's hysterical. She wakes up the next day. She goes to Jazz's room and she's like, where's Jazz?
And everyone's like, who?
What are you talking about? And she's like, Jazz!
Don't gaslight me!
The guy that's been here for 4 weeks, you spent
like,
every day with him?
There's been no one, Delia. What are you talking about, dear? And
There's been no one for 4 months. She's like, Jazz, Jazz, the guy? Hello? And then they kind of have like a protectors meeting essentially. And they're like, how did we not notice that she was hanging out with some man named Jazz? Like, so we come to find out the talisman makes people remember who Jasper is, but if he doesn't have it, then people forget who he is every day. That would drive me crazy. Anyway, so then Jazz goes to Woodvale. And he goes to the cabin that she's going to be led to with the
CT5.
With the floorboard with the shell on it. And he puts the talisman and the new letter in there. And he tells the front desk, hey, can you make sure Lady Kimball, when she comes, that she gets this cabin. And then he writes a note because he's like, the guy's not going to remember. But maybe he'll see it in here that this is for her. Or I guess he doesn't put the letter in there. He puts it in their mail or something. He sends it.
There was a few pieces in here that I was like, okay, I don't get it, but okay. Sure.
But we'll move forward.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then it is Delia's birthday, and they have a very nice celebration. She does work most of the day. She likes it. And at the end of the day, Taylor wants to continue the tradition of tossing her in the ocean like her dad used to do. So they bring her up and yeet her in there.
And they like sang a song, did a chant.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Seemed a little odd, but moving on.
A little ritually.
Yeah, perhaps. And then they have a conversation of essentially she's gonna go to Woodvale. Either we help her out with what she needs, or she's gonna do it without us knowing. Like, she's gonna do it either way. So they prepare her. She gets to wear pants.
Trousers!
And she goes on a 10-mile walk. I maybe just
And we're proud of ourselves when we hit 4, like, woo!
Miles! Your shoes are probably horrible, too. You don't got your Nikes on, that's for sure. And while she's in the woods, she gets attacked by these slithering fish.
I'm old Greg! That's what I was thinking the whole time. See, I knew you wouldn't get this one either. I've just got nothing but really old references. It It's a thing on the internet. I'll show it to you.
Susie, I have access to the internet. I've never heard of that.
Get it either. If you just type it in, it's gonna be weird.
I don't even know what you said.
Old Greg. I'm old Greg. It's fine. Once you watch it, you'll go, huh, okay, this was kind of funny. But you'll probably never look at me the same either, because it's weird.
It's okay. I used to watch Salad Fingers on YouTube.
Okay, okay.
Anyway, so these fish people come. That's the best way I'm going to describe them.
Imagine trying to take this book seriously. You're like, okay,
then
right,
4 fish people surround
and
her.
the fish man comes for the magic, and you're like, what?
And they are hunting for magic.
Yeah, right.
And
Hang on, you said fish man is walking on land?
Forever.
What the fuck?
And with their flipper fins that they got. And essentially...
I'm imagining they look like they're from Shark Tank.
Yeah. Shark Tale?
Yeah, sorry, Shark. It's great.
We're gonna make it, you guys.
Somehow. Some way.
Anyway, so they're looking for magic, and she drops her key that was in the first letter, and they're like, "What's this for?" And she's like, "Literally couldn't tell you." And
they're like, "Oh yeah." Sorry.
I don't know why that was so funny. Oh yeah. I haven't seen that cheating motherfucker. Alright, fish people.
Lord have
back
mercy.
to it.
Susie, you gotta be quiet for at least 5 minutes.
I'm
Tears go back in my eyes.
And
don't mind me just crying over here. It's fine. I'll stop eventually.
Anyway, she's like, I literally couldn't tell you what that key is for. And they don't like that answer.
I'm so sorry. We can't get it together. I can't.
And they also have bows and arrows.
Of course. So they also have opposable thumbs in their fins?
Yeah, I guess.
What's next? Do they have ambidextrous?
Probably we have to do when they swim. Okay.
Don't kick any of this out. Just leave it. This is great.
I gotta breathe. Anywho.
Yeah, so.
And then all of a sudden, water comes from the ground up.
Oh yeah, then we discover she's got like
She's
the
magical.
element of water. I didn't realize we were gonna do fire.
Avatar. The water comes from the ground up, and it wraps all the fish guys in a vortex.
Water-nado.
And then drops them, and they run off.
Yep.
And then all the water goes back into the river.
And that was enough to freak out the fishmen. They were like, nope, we're done with this.
These fishmen that are hunting for magic are all of a sudden like...
Couldn't handle the water.
There's some magic stuff happening here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Anyway. And then she just goes on her way. And she goes and checks into the Shell Inn. I'm pretty sure it's called.
Yep, the Shell Tavern or the Shell Inn.
And she looks in the guest book and she sees Jazz's name, so she's like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And she also sees her dad's name.
That would so be something we would do and then call each other and be like, remember when everyone tried to say this wasn't real? He'd be like, yeah, what? Well, I just wanted to let you know.
Well, I just took a picture and I sent it to you, so you better look at it.
So next time you want to call me fucking crazy.
Just remember this. You're like, did you write that? Did you write that in there? Anywho. And then she goes to bed and she cries. Next day.
Same girl.
Next day, she goes to the desk and she's like, do you know who a Marlowe is? And the guy's like, never heard of him. Or this couple at the inn was
She's
so
talking to
funny.
the wife, right? And
Yeah.
the wife is like, Hank, or whatever his name is. You know, wake up, huh?
Bang! Bang! What?
It was so funny. And we just keep like falling back asleep, and you're like,
Yeah.
sir.
Bro. And then he's like, oh, I have a letter for you. And so he gives her the other letter. In essence. The letter is essentially, you're not who you think that you are. If you want to know who your mom is.
Like any Disney movie, it's like, ta-da, you're actually like the thing that the earth moves around. You're more powerful than the sun.
We don't know that. And again, if you want to know all about it, find Marlo.
Yep.
So sorry, Dad. And she's
So
like,
confusing.
Right. Can you imagine getting these letters?
Just be like, Steve.
Dude, you don't have to think that hard about it. Just tell me. Write it down.
Yep.
Hey, Marlo's this guy. Meet him at 422 Southwest, whatever. Like,
Yep.
For the love.
So much cryptic.
So, the people at the front desk said maybe go down to the docks. Maybe he's down there if he's a fisherman or whatever. And so she goes down there. She goes to one boat, not him. Goes to another one, not him. Goes to another one that's far off. And she's like, are you Marlo? She can't see him. And he's like, yeah, you must be Lady Kimball. And it's Jazz!
Ta-da!
And she is pissed. And I think it's also like, she obviously caves in because, duh. But, like, she doesn't just, like, give it up right away of, like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. She's like, what the is going on? And he's like, you know who I am? She's like, what do you mean, do I know who you are? I just spent 4 months with you. Yes,
Yep.
I know who you are, Jazz.
And he's like,
Yeah.
oh.
So he had planned on her forgetting everything. And then I didn't really understand. So they fight and bicker and stuff. And then he's like touching her cheek. And she's like, yeah, that'll happen when bandits get you. And he's like, bandits?
Yeah, he's like, sorry?
She's like, in the woods. It's the bandits. And he's like, okay. And then there's some sort of like ruckus happening on the docks. And he's like, get in now. We have to go.
Oh yeah, some storm or some.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But she gets in the boat, and he's like, okay, I gotta steer. And she's like, okay. Like, they're like mid-fight. He's like, we gotta go, actually. So, can we put a pin in this? And, she's taking her home. This was kind of hard for me to picture, I'm not gonna lie. In my brain, this is how this goes. So they travel. I'm picturing like a cove type thing.
Okay.
On a random island.
Okay.
And then you have like a cave that goes in, and then his door is fire.
Okay.
And she's like, you're a Hagen? Whatever. Hagen? You're a Hagen? And he's like, yep. We could talk about it inside. And she's like, okay. Well, she's actually like, I can't go through there. Because only magical people can go through the silver flame door. He's like, you'll be fine. She's like, I don't think I'll be fine. He's like,
it would be
"You'll
kind of funny,
fine."
like, put ourselves in her position, and we're like, we've been taught our whole lives, like,
Yeah.
you will burn alive, and I'm like, no, Kylie, I promise, just come on through, you're fine, and you're like, I want to trust you, but like, yeah,
Well, especially in this scenario, like, I'm sorry, I thought we had something going on here, and then you just decided to dip the moment that I needed you. So I actually don't trust you anymore, which is her whole thing. Like, she feels very betrayed that he left, and she feels like very momentary to him. And so she goes in, and it's up these stairs. I didn't really understand that, but he had to like guide her up the stairs. Anyway, and
to his cave mountain house.
but it's under the ocean.
Under the sea.
But we're going up the stairs
Right.
to under the ocean.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure
see,
thing. No
was
problem.
like, right, we'll just move forward with that. And to the center of his operations to find Quilleris. He's got all these maps and these drawings of these mythical creatures and
There's sea serpents and all kinds of stuff.
fish people
Like, yeah.
with thumbs.
Yeah, old Greg's there. There's a painting of Bailey's. And he calls this one Bailey's.
And he tells her the story of Quilleris. Do you want to sum this up, or do you want me to?
We'll do my version, I guess. I'll give it a go.
Okay.
So, in 1492...
On page 277, it started with...
So, this man, which is, like, Jaspar's great something grandfather, was a adventurer, we'll call it that. He was a rude, bad person that basically stole from the crown to go try to find this great big bad.
That's the real story. That's not the story he knows.
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Hold up. Go ahead.
I was like, bad person. That's not... Okay. So sorry. We'll let you tell the real story. So the story that he knows is generations ago, his great whatever, I think it's his like 14 generations or something, was hired by the king to make a world map, to explore all of the islands and everything and make this map for him. And he went to this island, and then he was arrested and sent to death for, like, being there, essentially, I think is what it was. I don't remember exactly why they claimed that he was arrested, but then he was to be executed. And before that, this lady came and put this...
I opened the other note.
Spell on him because she could tell that he had pure intentions, and so when they went to execute him, he did not die. He was still breathing, but they moved his body to the ocean side.
Helped him escape.
Well, they moved him to the ocean because he didn't deserve a proper burial, is the way that they put it. And he was alive. He's fine. And he ended up going back to the king, but the king had died, and in the meantime, his son had taken place, and
nobody remembered him.
Nobody remembered who he was, and didn't give him the money that he was owed, and he ended up essentially dying alone. Nobody knew who he was, and he was broke.
Damn, forgot about how, like, crazy that story is.
Yeah. So they all have a mark, which he takes his shirt off to show her. They all carry a mark, and you can't see it unless he allows you to. And if he allows you to see it, then you will remember him. And typically, the people in his family, or the men, essentially, in his family, show their wives, or the person they're going to spend their time with. And she's all... But, so they all carry this mark. And so he's trying to find the island to break the curse, I think?
Yeah.
To get her to break the curse?
Yeah. I have more questions about
Yeah.
that. Maybe the next book will answer more
Like
of
what
that.
his actual mission is, other than finding it. We know he's looking for it, but like, why? I don't remember. Anyway, so that's the story of the curse. He shows her mark. She is very tired, reasonably, and she wants to go to bed, and so she lays down in his guest room, and she's like, stay with me.
Again. The fuck? So he sleeps on the cold, hard floor.
Yes. And then the next morning, he's like, I'm going to go fishing, but I didn't want you to, like, me not be here when you woke up and freak out. So
bed empty, car gone, no note. You could have died.
he could have left a note, honestly. But she's like, I'll come with you, but I need to bathe first. And he's like, okay, which, come on, we're going fishing. Just get some clothes on. Let's go. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't know what she's been doing the past couple of days. Maybe it's been a few days. Anyway, so she gets dressed in a pair of his trousers and shirt, and they're obviously, well, they're not too big on her. She does mention that he's a foot taller than her, but not like obscenely. Which a foot is kind of like, a lot.
That's
5 foot, 6 foot. That's kind of a lot, actually. Mm-hmm. But she says like she didn't. Anyway, moving forward, and he offers her, or she says something about like, I'll take a coffee, and he's like, you don't like coffee, and she's like, I've never had coffee, and he's like, I'm telling you, you don't like coffee. And then she tries it, and she's like, that is awful.
And it's like, yep, shocker.
I know. I told you that. So they go fishing, and they both catch something, and they again have moments of, I don't trust you, but then they like get closer, and then it's like, no. And he essentially tells her, he says, why don't you tell me what happened with the bandits? Because he wanted to know that story. And so she tells him the story of how they attacked. And he says, you're a Dantham? Again, just rolling with it here.
Yep.
And I'm like, right. And also, the fish people are the Sidons, and they were hunting her. And so we're just going to take that as, statement there.
Yeah, we went from this is all normal people in the 1600s to actually there's powers.
Okay. Yes.
Could you be a little more upfront?
Can you ease me into it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then she kind of starts to question, like, why do I remember you? And he's like, couldn't tell you. And she's like, how did my dad remember you? And he's like, also couldn't tell you. He never told me. And then they have a moment where she says, like, I feel like I was just momentary to you, and you were always going to leave. You were there for something else, and you were always going to leave me, and I was just a distraction from what you were doing. And he's such a sweet talker, and he's like, you weren't momentary, like, you're everything to me, and the moment I held you in my arms, you were mine, and things like that. It's all very sweet.
He did say, he said all the right things at the right time.
Yeah. And so they kind of like make up essentially, and she's like, remember when you said it was your mission to make me smile? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, now it's your mission to make me trust you.
But yes, yeah.
And she essentially tells him, like, I understand that you have to do these things and you want to find this island and it's very important to your family and things like that, but I need to know that I come first. And he agrees to it. He's like, I'll never leave you again. She's like, yeah, you better.
So tweet.
So they decide that they gotta get these powers kicking. So they go to the ocean because he lives on a cove thing. And
cue the Mulan song. Yeah. I'm gonna make a man out of you.
And he's trying to help delicately, but she's having a really hard time. And the first time she tries to make it move, she forgets to breathe and she turns like purple. And he's like, you're done. And she's like, no. He's like, okay, well, I told you to concentrate, not forget to breathe. Like, you do it again, you're done. And
me feeding Bash applesauce.
Oh my gosh, she thought he was gonna die. And then, so she keeps trying, and he's like, you're tired, like, let's just call it a day. And she's like, no, I want to do it again. And he's like, I just said you're tired. And she's like, that doesn't change what I just said. Oh, loved that. I love that moment. And so she tries again, and she gets it to come. This is how I picture it.
Like airbenders.
Up, and it comes over her body.
Yep.
And then it, like, reaches out past where Jax is. Like, it's pretty incredible thing, and he's, like, in awe. And then she passes
slack-jawed, as I would say.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, not a lot. I don't read it a lot in books anymore, but someone's, they were slack-jawed. I'm like, so...
Love that. And then she passes out, and her nose is bleeding, and then she... And he carries her inside and puts her to bed. And then the next morning, she wakes up or she gets up first, goes out to make coffee and tea, and then he comes in and he's like, good morning. And I'm like, are we not going to talk about what just happened? I don't know. When someone passes out, usually it's like, oh.
It's dressed.
But okay. And
the way we care about each other, but we would not give each other all night to pull that shit. I'd have been like, it's been 3 hours and you're not gonna.
Are you good?
You know.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna not talk about this. Like.
And she kind of asked, like, what happened? And he's like, magic takes a lot out of you. You were tired anyway, so you're gonna pass out. I'm like, her nose is bleeding. Hello, but okay. And he recommends they go back to where she was attacked, so they can kind of let her figure it out through there. Yeah. our story takes quite the turn here, and we get
And
a
we're not
lot of
talking
information.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like, Susie said, just wait, because a lot happens all of a sudden, and that's definitely kind of where it went. So, they go back to where she got attacked, and they're like trying to recreate it, and then something is like kind of like this, and then they put like a phantom arrow slides past her, and it is this lady in the woods.
My notes are Hagonia enters the chat.
She does enter the chat, but she's just like, come with me. And then, like, into her
This
cottage.
floating fairy lady that they say is, like, more beautiful than you've ever seen. Like,
But
she
they
just
don't know what
appears.
she is.
Yeah, she's like, just come on back. And, like, they just kind of do it.
They
You
just
and me?
follow her.
Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah. So she's like, to her little cottage, and they go and sit on these flowers.
Which her cottage is, like, low-key
Chairs.
what I want my house.
Dude, I was like, when they were saying how, like, you could barely walk through it because all the plants, I'm like, Susie's house. Got it. Got it. I literally had that thought. It was like Susie. And so she is Hagonia. And
She's a demigod.
She is a demigod. And
This book wasn't weird enough.
she's very much just spilling all of the tea on everything. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you know who I am? And she's like, of course I do. You are my soul child.
And y'all
like,
are soul faded, which was cool, but I was like, huh?
I'm like, faded maids.
Yeah.
So they are soul fates, and so no matter what happened, she was always going to be able to recognize him. So even though he had this curse of people not remembering him, she was always going to be able to because they're fated together. Okay, you know what one of my first thoughts was? What a waste to show her your thing then. If she was always going to know who you were, what a waste of that.
Yep.
You had one shot. You gave it up.
True.
And so her sister
Was a witch, bro! I've been waiting for
The Wicked Witch of the
days. It's even in all caps down here.
So her sister is Begonia, who is the person who put the curse on Jazz's family. Now we have the real story.
Wicked Witch of the East.
The real story of what happened with the curse.
Oh, yes. So, back to 1492 when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So, this island was minding its business, being magical, having all just amazing things. And then
Living its life.
this colonizer shows up and decides to...
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, it's just, I don't mean to, but it's so true. It was literally, they showed up, they wanted to use and abuse it, they wanted to enslave the people, they're wanting to, capitalize this thing.
There's the elixir of immortality.
Yes, they
And that's
wanted the
really what
fountain
he's
of
after.
youth out of the middle, and the evil twin, she's just misunderstood. She did the right thing, and she cursed the hell out of all the males in this family, which then made me think of the MGK thing, how he says that his family's cursed. I'm like, was your great granddaddy an explorer?
Did he shake a hand?
So then she places a curse that they will, all the men will be forgotten of that family. Because he was so obsessed with being the one that found this island that he was going to hurt everyone else. Mm-hmm. And he was going to, steal all the money from the crown and not really report back, not do his job. Real bad guy. Jaspar's great-great-great-great-granddaddy. Bad person. So he doesn't want people to know that truth, so the other story gets basically told. The mother effer's still alive.
Yep.
This happened 1,000 years ago. Yep. This guy is still alive.
Because he's stealing magic.
Yes, and there was something else.
He's become a sorcerer because he's stealing magic from people, from his fish guys.
Oh yeah, the Sidons,
his fish army,
Sidons, and
which are his children.
It was.
He's created he's birthed an army of fish people.
Ew. That's like that guy in Game of Thrones that all his sons.
Maybe I read that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
That makes sense. I get, yeah.
So he's alive and
He's
evil.
David. Yeah, and a bad person. And finding this out is a lot for Jaspar, because he kind of gets sick.
Jaspar. I'm sorry, I just spit. Jasper.
Yeah, sorry.
Maybe I'm wrong. It could be Jaspar, but I think it might be
No,
Jasper.
Jasper is a lot better. I don't know why I said Jaspar.
It's okay. It's all right.
We're just on one today.
We could both be wrong. We have 50-50 chance here of being wrong, honestly.
Somebody let us know.
Watch,
in the
it's not
comments.
either.
Oh, he was upset finding out that his family's
Yes.
a piece of trash. And that everything, that his whole life is a lie, and everything he's been told is just not. And
And he
then,
throws up.
Yeah, she finds out also her life is nothing, that it was said.
So, Begonia is Delia's mom. So, she's half mortal, half demigod,
So
I
she's
suppose.
Hercules.
Yeah, and so her mom wanted to protect her, but she doesn't have that gift. Her gift is like cursing. So she put her in the ocean to send her to her sister
Like Moses in a basket.
to get blessed or whatever to protect her. And because she's very powerful. So send her in the ocean.
Sorry, gonna poke a hole in this. Why couldn't she just curse her with protection?
Okay, well she did in the ocean. She put a thing on her
So,
to
like,
get her to point A
So
to
what
point B.
was the point?
It could also be maybe to hide her, to hide her.
Oh yeah, because she didn't want all the people to be greedy and okay.
Yeah, because she had abilities. Anyway, and her dad was killed by something evil.
Yeah.
We're just gonna leave that there.
Okay.
And then the captain found her
It was the hash slinging
in the
slasher,
sea.
wasn't it?
and jumped out, grabbed her, brought her home, and then Hygonia.
Yep.
These names kill me. Came to the house and put a kibosh on her abilities until her 20th birthday.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of protections on her.
There's been spells everyone's been saying to keep it all in place.
And More Than Life, I Love You More Than Life or whatever was the one her dad put on her for protection.
It had a C. It had a fancy name, and I can't remember now.
And then they threw her in the ocean every year to give her back to the ocean, but not. That was a whole protection thing. So she has a moment of my entire life is just a bunch of spells and stuff, really. But they take that with what it may. Oh, she has a mark too behind her ear.
The island with a heart and
trident.
the trident going through it.
Yeah. Both marked. And
So then I'm like, oh, so she's Ariel. So this is this is
The
actually
daughter
going to
of
be
the sea.
the Little Mermaid here in a minute.
because he's not actually mortal. Mm-hmm. He's the trident dude. What's his name? King
Trident.
Trident.
Yeah.
That.
But you're also thinking of Lord Poseidon. That's also who you're thinking
That's
of.
who I was thinking
Poseidon,
of, yeah.
god of the sea.
Anyway, so they say thank you very much, and they go back to the inn.
Yeah, because I guess that was enough for them.
And then at the inn, surprise, surprise,
The brothers are there.
the brothers are there, and they're talking and oh, nobody's seen her. They don't know what happened to her, and people are worried about her, and so they're kind of testing the talisman that she's wearing now of are they gonna recognize her or not, because now she has it to hide her identity, I guess. And they don't recognize her. Mm-mm. And they buy him a round of drinks, and they play cards with them, and they find out that Kevin is still sweet on her, and he wants to return to, maybe she'll be there. It's so silly. And then one of the other brothers has a thing going with the blacksmith in town, so he wants to return to him because they're lovey-doveys now.
Ooh.
Marcus. And so it's a nice moment of they're familiar with them, even though they don't know that this is Jazz and Cordelia.
That would be fun.
Yeah. And then they are all right, we're going to bed. They kiss. That's all you get, you guys.
Yep.
They kiss. And then she's like, we should go to bed.
Just okay. He's trying to bash my head into. So upset.
Smash or something, God.
This is the longest book of my life.
And they go to bed. And then the next day, they decide they're going to go to Karoo, but his ship is in shambles. So he can't really, they're not going to make it in his boat. So then the brothers are there, and they're like, oh, where are you headed? And they're like, oh, we're going to Karoo, and then maybe this place, and then home. And she's like, oh, can we get a ride? And he's like, jeez Louise, lady, like,
no.
maybe run it by me quick. But they're like, yeah, sure. And so he's like, well, we know they're
all
trustworthy.
Right. Yep.
So they hop on their boat and they're talking.
Minding their business.
Having a good time. Go ahead.
And then cannons start going off, and shit hits the fan. The old Greg and the fishmen are back. And everyone is panicking, and there's absolute just that part in Pirates of the Caribbean when the ship captain is walking down and everything's just blowing up. That's exactly what was happening. So then we cut to the ship is like sunk or sinking. There is oyster traps the size of crab pots that she's in somehow.
Locked in.
Somehow she went from on the deck to locked in, and someone has both bent the lock and crushed the lock after it was already locked.
And it is unbreakable metal.
Yes.
Okay.
Even though
I'm so glad
she's
you
got
were confused.
vortex powers, and they taught her how to use it, and she's afraid, and that's the only time it ever works is when she's afraid.
But she hurt her head. She's tired. And her ribs broken.
Yeah, poor baby.
Yeah.
She dislocated her shoulder, which, fair enough. Okay, that's horrible.
Can't use our magic abilities when our shoulders
And
are
we're
hurting.
all sitting there like, what do we do? And she's all, you have to go. You must leave me. And so they have to leave her. And that's it. That's all you fucking
Well, we
get.
don't even know if they leave.
Oh, yeah, I guess not.
They, at the end, they're still just, bickering about it.
And there's no epilogue. Nothing.
No. Well, you gotta get book 2.
Yeah. But that didn't fix
You're right
now.
There's not an epilogue. There's a whole ass book after.
Yeah. Well.
But, so the ship is sinking and she's stuck and they're having an argument of, you need to go, no, I'm not leaving you, and you need to go, and no, I'm not gonna leave you, and that is the end of the book.
So. Here's a closure for you.
There you have it. All right. There's the book.
Yeah. I know, guys. It seems, but really, so you have to get her next one to find out.
I'm going to. I'll probably start it tonight.
Yeah.
I
won't tonight. That's a lot of reading. I'm a listener.
That is true. All right, let's start with her.
Okay, so for Cordelia, I cast Billie Eilish.
Oh, okay.
Just
Hey, fair.
super pretty, amazing eyes.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
I did. I'm gonna work on this pronunciation. Kaya Scudero.
Okay.
She's from The Maze Runner, so she's the main girl in The Maze Runner.
Oh, I've never seen that. Sorry. She's pretty.
Okay. Well, that's who I casted. What about him? You never even see. You don't know who this other guy is either. Anyway, it's fine. I don't know who
Henry
your
Cavill.
Instagram guys are. Okay. So I did Tom Lewis.
Okay.
He's from Redeeming Love. You don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
But that's him.
Oh, I know who that actor is.
Oh, you know who he is?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
seen him and stuff.
So
No
I
problem.
casted Tom Lewis.
That's a great choice.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with him in that movie.
Yes.
Like, his patience for her and, like, the way he speaks to her just is, like, very much how I feel like Jazz was. With, like, he says the right thing at the right time.
I like that.
But he's also very sincere. So, anyway. Okay, Gladys.
Rose Leslie.
I don't know who that is. Do you have a
She
picture?
played Jon Snow's girl
Oh,
in
okay.
Game of Thrones. Very just Like, snarky, can handle herself, redhead.
Yeah. I went a different route.
Okay.
Because she's at least 48, 49 in my brain.
It was either that or Kathy Bates for me, so there was no in between.
I did Natasha Lyonne.
Oh, yeah, she's
From
great.
Orange is the New Black.
I love her.
I was like, yeah.
She plays a great psycho, too. Like,
yeah, like the barmaiden, like, get out, we don't, at this
Can
bar
handle
we
your
treat people
shit.
with respect. Yeah, I was like, love that. Love her.
And then
So
the
that's
captain, I did King Triton.
Right.
Ariel!
Right.
You cannot know!
Hey. Valid. Valid. Maybe he'll come back in the sequel. I don't think he will, but maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be her other day.
One can dream.
You know? Maybe we'll get something else.
Maybe that wasn't her dad. That was the guy sent to cast as her dad because her real dad is being protected in the base of some fucking Mount Dumas or
Well,
some
we know
shit.
it's not her real dad. He found her in the ocean in a basket.
And then there's going to be some other shit that he was, yeah.
I'm interested to see, like, the mom situation. Like, what is that going to be like? So they're going to the new island to find the library that his dad was searching for because there's a book in there that might be helpful to find the island. So I imagine it's going to be about that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Final thoughts?
The most complicated young adult book I ever read in my life. Like, my hat's off to you, author. Like, not in a bad way. It's just, I didn't know you could put so much in one fucking story.
The names are hard.
Yep.
Yeah, the names, the places. But that's with any fantasy book. I feel like...
Yeah, I don't think, like, she went out of her way to be any more different
Yeah.
or difficult or anything. Just,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
The youth are smart nowadays, good lord.
Any fantasy book, you don't know what's happening for most of it. I've just come
You
to
just kind
terms
of
with
hear
that.
along for the ride.
Yeah. I read From Blood and Ash, and I was texting Elkie, like, what does that mean? What are we doing here? And she's like, it'll explain it. Just...
But you and I's personality is like, we need
have
to
to
know,
know
we
now.
need to understand.
So I have a hard time. But I've kind of given up. Where I'm like, I understand this will be explained later. We're just going to leave it be. So, yeah. Anyway. Okay.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Like.
Subscribe.
Follow.
Share.
That'll be it from us. Bye!